Last October, Citi Field came of age. The Mets made it to the postseason for the first time since moving to their new ballpark in 2009, and the fans came with them and raised this ballpark to a new height of frenzy. Now it's a new season, and Citi Field is open for business again, hosting the defending National League champions, and Met fans could not be more ready for the new season in front of them. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play their home opener against the Philadelphia Phillies. Friday baseball is presented by Jeep. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets play their first home game of 2016. What a difference a year makes. What a difference just a few months makes. The Mets come home as the defending National League champions, and this atmosphere during the pregame ceremonies, the fans outside the ballpark getting ready to come in, just fantastic.
Well, I haven't seen a reaction and a crowd reaction on opening day in a long time like this, and deservedly so. They didn't get to the World Series last year, this ball club, but it's still quite an accomplishment to be a National League champion, and they have something to fight for this year. The atmosphere here is just off the charts.
And the reaction when the players were introduced, when the flag was raised, it was just fabulous.
Even Yoshi, the massage guy, got a big hand. I think the key is in 11 years I've been here, never heard a hand like that. Why? Because this crowd is anticipating a coronation this year.
For the second straight year, Jacob deGrom gets the honor of pitching the home opener. It was a little dicey, but the baby has held off until now, and he certainly deserves this honor.
Well, he did it last year, 6 1/3 shutout innings against the same Phillies team, 14 wins, 205 strikeouts. He's great during the day, and here in Citi Field last year, his ERA was 1.99.
Just about set to go on a cool, breezy afternoon at Citi Field. The Mets get ready to open the home season as they've raised the flag and celebrated last year's National League championship. Now time to try to embark on a new quest. The Mets and the Phillies in the home opener at Citi Field. First pitch is coming right up on SNY. By Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary. By Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop in store or online at mybobs.com. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. And by Empire City Casino, Manhattan's closest casino. Game on. Jacob deGrom for the second straight year, pitching the home opener before a packed house here at Citi Field. The Phillies, who began their season in Cincinnati getting swept in a 3-game series, will be without their best player. Maikel Franco got hit on the elbow yesterday, so he is out of the starting lineup. Andres Blanco will take his spot at third base. Cedric Hunter, who hit his first big league homer yesterday in the 6-hole. Ryan Howard, who's hit 44 of them against the Mets in his familiar cleanup spot.
Well, you see the great numbers for Jacob last season. The Land Rover numbers: 30 starts, 14 wins, 2.5 ERA. The difficult part of pitching on a day like this, very, very cold. That baseball feels like a cue ball. Hard to grip.
Freddie Galvis getting set to lead off for the Phillies. It's a cloudy afternoon. Temperature in the upper 40s. Wind blowing out of the west, which means blowing out today. So it will be a bit of a hitter's wind against Jacob deGrom, who gave up only 2 home runs in this ballpark last year. How is that even possible?
I don't know those numbers.
15 starts, 95 innings at Citi Field, only 2 home runs allowed. Freddie Galvis leads off, and deGrom's first pitch is a fastball a little bit high, and we're underway.
Galvis, one of the few guys that are part of those pretty good Philly ball clubs. Totally revamped ball club.
And he bounces one foul, 1-1. Well, Galvis was up and down during some of the latter stages of the Phillies' glory years. Really, Ryan Howard and Carlos Ruiz are the only 2 remaining pieces.
Starters, yes,
from their 5-year run of titles. But this is a different era now for the Phillies. 2 years ago, they had a payroll of $174 million. This year, it's $84 million. They are retrenching.
A new general manager, Gare.
Now Clintock took over, just 35 years old, youngest GM in the majors. 1-2 to Galvis. Cesar Hernandez on deck, then Odubel Herrera against deGrom pitching in short sleeves. And it's popped up. Shallow left. Michael Conforto, his first chance in the field this season, and he puts it away for the first out.
And we'll take a quick look at your brand spanking new 2016 Metsies. Conforto in left field gets his first full season in left field. Starts the day out in left. Neil Walker, the newcomer from the Pirates, the veteran second baseman, hit the 2-run home run in that second game to give the Mets the win. D'Arnaud behind the plate.
Heard a rumor about that home run. Here's Cesar Hernandez hitting second in the order, and the off-speed pitch from deGrom to start him off.
How about a first pitch changeup the first time he faced a pitcher in a cold day?
Hernandez 2 for 7 to start the season. And he laces one into center field for the first base hit of the game.
Nice rip up the middle there on a fastball, inner half, belt high.
Tells you a little bit, Keith, that maybe the game plan is go soft on Hernandez. Changeup and then slider.
That was a slider. Yeah, it was a slider to hanger.
Only Jake Arrieta, Chicago Cubs last year, threw his slider harder than Jacob deGrom.
Now Odubel Herrera, who had a terrific rookie season last year. He was a Rule 5 pick, came over from Texas. He was an infielder that they moved to the outfield. Wound up hitting .297 with a .344 on base percentage. The Phillies could not have asked for a whole lot more from him. One of 4 switch hitters in the lineup today against deGrom.
He played in 147 games for the Phillies last year. Really a nice season. 30 doubles.
Galvis, Hernandez, Herrera, all from Venezuela, as is Andres Blanco, who's hitting 5th in the order.
What I was surprised that Herrera had to change positions from the infield to center field and still had those offensive numbers. Impressive.
Well, this is Jacob deGrom's first trip to the Citi Field mound since the regular season last year. Oddly enough, in the postseason, and it was certainly not by design, all 4 of his postseason starts came on the road, and he was brilliant.
3 of them wins.
In fact, he's the only Mets starter ever to win 3 games in one postseason. Jesse Orosco got 3 wins in '86 out of the bullpen, but deGrom won each of his first 3 starts, 2 against the Dodgers, 1 against the Cubs, before suffering a loss against the Royals. Keeping an eye on Hernandez.
Well, the Phillies are winless thus far in this season, 0-3.
They've hit just .204 as a team out of that series against Cincinnati. They had massive problems in their bullpen, which is going to be an ongoing concern for the Phillies.
Interesting, 2 throws in a row by deGrom to first base. This is one of the little things for you fans to watch this year. Do teams against this great pitching staff where it's hard to get 3 and 4 hits together, will they try to steal some bases and get in scoring position?
And 4 stolen bases all year against DeGrom last year. 4 in 11 tries, so he is not easy to run against. And Herrera swings through the slider, 1-2.
19 stolen bases for Hernandez last year with the Phillies. That's swung right under it, right through it.
Well, Jacob deGrom pitching with more than just the game on his mind today. It's got to be a difficult task, don't you think? We saw it twice last year. Runner goes, pitch outside. D'Arnaud throws a perfect one, and Hernandez is gunned down. That's the throw you've been waiting for from Travis d'Arnaud. Right on the money to get Hernandez for the second out.
No wasted motion here. Excellent footwork. And not a little, just a slight wiggle when he brought the ball back up by his ear. But perfect throw to Cabrera, dead as a doornail.
Did you see the arm angle of d'Arnaud, though? It wasn't from the side. It was straight over the top. That's how you keep the ball true to second base.
He's been working so hard on those throws. Herrera bounces one down to Duda. And deGrom takes the flip. And that retires the side. d'Arnaud showing off his arm, and deGrom has a scoreless first. Mets come up in the bottom of the first in their home opener with no scores. Now Jacob deGrom with a perfect throw on an attempted steal.
Well, a good pitch to throw on up, but notice how he came over the top. No sink, as Ronnie noted last inning. And they're over the top more, and that makes the ball travel true, and it gets there faster. The only catcher I can recall that threw a real heavy sinker and consistently was Thurman Munson with the Yankees, Ronnie.
Well, a quick release, though, at least for Thurman.
Curtis Granderson leads off for New York. Curtis 1 for 8 to start the season. Facing Jared Eichhoff. And Eichhoff misses with the first one high, ball 1. It's faced Eichhoff 3 times late last season after he came over in the trade from Texas in the Cole Hamels deal. And he was impressive.
Well, Eichhoff, you talked about the Cole Hamels deal. He was a big part of that. They liked him his last 4 starts in the Phillies uniform last year. He was 2-0 with a 0.96. Trying to keep that up here in April.
Granderson grounds one down to Howard at first. Eichhoff over to cover, and that's the first out. And that takes us to your Mets starting lineup for this home opener. No DH for the first time in this early part of the season. So Cabrera hits 7th, d'Arnaud hits 8th, and otherwise the regular lineup for the Mets. And here is David Wright. David 1 for 7 to start the season, but certainly allowed some folks to exhale a little bit on Tuesday when he stole a couple of bases against Chris Young and the Royals.
And I almost feel like after the opening day, he had such a bad opening day, Gare. And it's only one game. You know, David's going to have to deflect all the negative noise about him getting older and his health. He's going to have to tune that out. And he doesn't have anything to prove as far as I'm concerned. And when he stole the 2 bases, I felt it was a reaction to his first game. And I think the most important thing for David is he can steal 20, 15, 20 bases, sneaking them at the right moment. And you don't need to overdo it. And the Mets do not need him to be hurt.
Drives one toward the gap in right center field, and that's going to be beyond Herrera and up against the wall. And David cruises into second base with a 1-out double. First extra base hit of the season for David Wright.
Well, we always like when David uses right center field. That's his strength. Very strong fastball down the outer half, maybe the middle. And more importantly, a nice quick bat, Gary, was something we didn't see in Kansas City.
There's a lot of different ways to get your numbers. We've always said when he's hitting the ball that way, that's his strength. Maybe it's not 25 home runs anymore. Maybe it's 45 doubles instead.
So the Mets have a runner in scoring position with 1 out for Yoenis Cespedes. First home opener as a Met for Cespedes. 1 for 7 to start the year, and he takes a knee-high strike from Eichhoff.
Well, here's a side view of David, not wrapping the bat around his head too much there, and got the barrel out, and that's the most important thing, squaring it up, as they say in today's parlance.
I think what you said about Wright is absolutely true, Keith, is that he has nothing to prove. I just think there's so much uncertainty surrounding David and his ability to go out there every day and perform at a high level. Nobody seems to know, at least of all, maybe him.
And as athletes, you're very competitive and you want to answer challenges. And if you didn't, you wouldn't be here at this level.
Eichhoff ahead 0-2 on Cespedes, and he bounces the curveball.
But you know, a lot of people put numbers 125 or 130, how many he can play. I think that's unrealistic and shouldn't even be thought of by David. What he should do is whatever game he's playing in today, play his heart out, play as hard as he can, as long as he can, and worry about the next day.
And tomorrow is going to be the first time that the Mets will have played on back-to-back days this season.
You can't play trying to protect yourself so you last longer into the year. You just play.
Hit hard but foul. Interesting quote last night. Kyle Schwarber of the Cubs got hurt in a collision with Dexter Fowler, hurt his knee and his ankle. Still unknown just how seriously it is, but his quote after the game was, "I'd rather play hard and get hurt than not play hard and not get hurt."
Right.
Although with Schwarber, watching him play the outfield, it's not only him who's going to hurt. It might be someone else.
It's just a matter of time. That's a hard call there because you have to get his bat into the lineup somewhere. 1-2 to Cespedes, and it's up and away.
Well, you heard the talk this winter when they were, as they always do, talk about having the DH in the National League. The Cubs were very for it.
Sure. Now they are.
Yeah. Let's leave it alone.
It's one question we didn't ask the commissioner when he was
right.
the other day, because he's the guy who first kind of publicly floated it last winter, then kind of walked it back.
Well, he was only on with us for 45 minutes.
It seemed that way, didn't it? He was great.
Yeah, he was.
He was fantastic.
See Cespedes with the hood behind his helmet. Temperature in the upper 40s today. Comfortable today. Maybe not quite as comfortable tomorrow. Curveball launched foul down the left field line.
So one thing about Cespedes, Keith, he is a good breaking ball hitter.
When he strings that strikes.
Yeah, when he strings the strikes. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Last year, the Mets faced Eichhoff 3 times. right-hand batters in those 3 starts were 1 for 28 against him. The only hit for a Met against Eichhoff last year from a right-hand batter, Bartolo Colon.
Who got maybe the biggest hand.
Mets have already equaled that total today with Wright's double. Cespedes fouls one off and putting together a long at bat here against the 25-year-old.
Well, to combat that, since he's done so well against right-handed hitters, Eichhoff in his exit interview last year with Bob McClure said he had to work on his changeup. So you'll see a lot of changeups against the lefties.
By the way, it wasn't just the Mets. Righties hit just 168 against Eichhoff once he got to the big leagues in late August. Curveball pulled just foul beyond the reach of Blanco. Third base umpire Ron Culpa right on top.
He's getting that curveball over the middle, and he's going to get hurt. A good call, just foul.
And just to review, there is no review available on fair foul calls in front of the umpire.
Well, Gary, I've decided, I don't know if Keith agrees, they change the rules every year. You're in charge of the rules from now on.
Well, you saw what they overturned in that Giant Dodger game. They overturned a double play.
Well, but that was different. That was he was jumping off the bag, so it wasn't really a neighborhood play. It was more just an errant throw, and we can talk a little bit more about it as we go along. The call in the Blue Jays game, that wasn't really related to the new rule either. There's a good slider to strike out Cespedes, and Eichhoff, after a 9-pitch battle, has his second out.
This is the first one Keith he was able to get on the outside corner.
And it was a slider, not a hook, Ronnie. It's more flat. That's a slide ball. Good pitch.
That's a pitch he threw more and more after he got to the big leagues last year and contributed to his success against the righties.
He's a big kid, 6'4", 250 pounds.
I thought the umpires made the right call on that double play in that Toronto game.
But it wasn't about the new rule. It was about the fact that he reached on, grabbed, and that was part of the old rule. You can't do that.
Can't
reached on, grabbed Logan Forsythe's ankle.
That's right. Just like, on Utley's slide, you can't throw across body blocks.
So the difference wasn't that he violated the new rule. It's that those plays at second base, those interference calls, are now reviewable, and that's why the call was overturned.
Right.
Here's Lucas Duda. Lucas 2 for 8 to start the year, and the Phillies put on the shift against him. Right at second with 2 out.
Ronnie, why would he do that, the Eichhoff, when there's 2 outs? What's Wright going to do? Is he going to steal third?
Shouldn't even be looking at him, and he shouldn't even be faking. I can see faking him a little bit to get him to not take a big lead, just in case a base hit, maybe he won't score.
And a way to do the ball one.
Let's see, David is sporting those orange laces?
Laces. Those are his daytime laces.
Oh, goodness.
Pants hiked up, orange laces.
It would go good with your socks.
Oh, we got to show those at some point.
They're warm, though.
Well, we all have different ways of staying warm, Keith.
Let's just say I'm hiding my bias.
Your bias is going to get uncovered. Jared Eichhoff made 8 starts last year for the Phillies. 3 of those 8 against the Mets. Pitched to a 2.65 ERA. And he ties up Duda, and he held the swing. 3-0.
That's nice to see Lucas laying off that pitch. Interesting for the Phillies. First, Keith, the slider down and in.
Not as big a leg kick this year. They kind of cut back Lucas's extreme leg kick.
So not only do we have to be in charge of how they shift, but what personnel gets in the shift. Freddie Galvis has stayed over around third base. Hernandez, the second baseman, stays at his position, and the third baseman Blanco goes out of the rover position.
Blanco, a guy who's played all over the infield in his career. I think sometimes that has something to do with it. There's ball 4, so Eichhoff pitching like he didn't want much of a part of Duda, and he'll face Neil Walker instead with 2 on.
And we'll take a look at the Philly Coors Light defense, and Herrera with the fine season last year in center field. 2 newcomers right there. The veteran Emmanuel Burris in left. Ryan Howard, the old stalwart at first base. MVP. Cameron Rupp behind the plate. So you can see this is a whole reconfigured Philadelphia Philly ball club.
Of course, they're without Maikel Franco today. He is available to pinch hit, but Franco got hit on the left elbow by a pitch in the Phillies game yesterday, and so he is not in the lineup today. So here's the first Citi Field at bat as a Met for Neil Walker, who accounted for the only 2 runs in the Mets win on Tuesday. And he'll bat here with 2 out and 2 on. Right at second, Duda at first with 2 down. And Walker goes after a first pitch fastball, 0-1.
Well, here's the 2-run shot. And that was a game decider right there. It was a 0-0 ball game, and that 2-run shot was what stood in the score. So it got to feel good for Walker. New uniform.
It's got to be a little strange, you know. You come to a new team, which is difficult enough, particularly when you grew up in Pittsburgh, played your whole career there. But now you come to a team that just won, and you watch all the ceremonies celebrating things that happened before you got there. And that's really what's been going on all week.
And everybody gets a ring and you don't.
That's right. It's a little odd, right?
Yeah, it is.
Almost feel like the new kid in school.
He's a champion that's coming to a new champion.
1-2 to Walker.
That's a show me pitch right there. So he shows that one up and in. And let's see if he delivers that changeup he's been working on down and away.
Mykoff already 23 pitches deep in this opening inning. Trying to work around Wright's double. Galvi's keeping his eye on Wright, and Walker steps out.
Looks like the sun wants to pop out.
Special guest appearance. 1-2 coming, and the curveball wraps around the plate. 2-2.
Well, there's the, what's it called here? The Coca-Cola corner. That's a new feature of the ballpark. New sponsor.
Different fizz. Curveball, strike 3 called. Walker caught looking. So Mykoff strikes out 2 in the inning and gets around Wright's double. After 1 at Citi Field, no score. The MLB.com at bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. 36-year-old Ryan Howard leads off for the Phillies as we start the second.
One of the rare Philly hitters who has some numbers against Jacob deGrom.
4 for 14 with a couple of home runs. 2 of the 44 home runs he has hit in his career against the Mets. And the Mets have begun moving their third baseman to the other side of the infield, something they never did in the past. But David Wright playing on the right side in the shift, with Walker out in shallow right field.
Threw it by him.
Fastball gets Howard for the first out.
That is the pitch right there that Syndergaard, when he learns to go up the ladder like this, that's going to make Syndergaard that much more unhittable.
So, Ronnie, there were questions during spring training about deGrom's velocity. We saw it improve in his last spring start, but he's in the 91-92 range again today. Is there any reason to be concerned about that?
I think that you're talking about a young man that had a long season last year, a long postseason, pitched the most innings of any Mets starter. I think his velocity will increase as time goes. We know that last year he averaged almost 95 miles an hour on his fastball, so that means he's down 3 miles or so. But as soon as it warms up, so will he.
And that changeup will help. Nothing to Blanco. That's amazing. Last 22 years, only the 5th.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt to strike out 200 or more. And a little tapper. Cabrera will charge it, and Blanco is out by a stride, 2 out.
Wasn't that interesting, that play there? That almost reminded me of the Kansas City play when the infield was in, and David took that play. Now the infield back here, he concedes to Cabrera.
They got him, and they're not. They were thinking of challenging.
Clearly out.
And he certainly was out.
By the way, the other Met pitchers have struck out 200 since 1993. Al Leiter, Pedro Martinez, Johan Santana, R.A. Dickey.
Oh, that's right, R.A.
Dickey struck out 230 in his Cy Young season. Here's Cedric Hunter. Hunter, a 28-year-old rookie, who actually had some brief big league time 5 years ago. He got his first big league hit and his only big league hit until yesterday with San Diego back in 2011. Said he never got the souvenir ball from his first hit. Yesterday he had a home run in Cincinnati. Fan threw it back in the field. Security guard picked it up, threw it back into the stands, but they were able to get the ball.
Oh, good.
Up the ladder.
Hunter is platooning in left field right now for the Phillies with Tyler Goodell, who is the younger brother of Mets pitcher Eric Goodell, who's down in Vegas right now. 1-2 coming. Foul back. There are a lot of names floating around these Phillies teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it was supposed to be Aaron Altair as a starting outfielder, but he tore a tendon in his wrist and may miss half or more of the season. So they have really had to patch together a team. 1-2 coming, and it skips in.
Keith, you almost had, I was going to have the same comment you had about his glove.
Is something that you could complain about as a distraction? Look at his laces. That is that's a foot long, just about. I would have to tell the umpire I want him to cut those laces.
It toward the hole. Cabrera lays out. Does he have time to get him? Nope. Hunter beats it out for an infield hit, but a nice stop by Cabrera just to keep that ball in the infield.
Well, Cabrera hasn't got a lot of range, but he's certainly an upgrade from last year when the Flores started at shortstop, and it's no criticism of Wilmer. Wilmer's a third baseman, second baseman, and he went to shortstop last year, a new position for him, and clearly he beat the play.
But one thing about Cabrera that I've noticed so far, Gary Ron, is he's not a fancy Dan. Whatever he got good hands, whatever he gets to, he gets in front of it whenever he can.
Yeah.
He uses 2 hands, solid.
So Hunter at first with 2 out. Now Cameron Rupp. He swings through the fastball. Rupp, who was in the middle of the whole tete-a-tete with Hansel Robles last year when he got quick pitched in Philadelphia. Robles, by the way, is here and active today after sitting out the first 2 games under suspension after his dealings with the Phillies last year.
Yeah, he had a couple of dust-ups, didn't he? Thought he was going to have to go after Larry Boa at some point.
Yeah, you know, Boa got the biggest booze of all the Phillies introduced today before the game. I wonder how much of it had to do with that. Fastball for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Well, 51 years now in Major League Baseball. Larry, I played against Larry my rookie year. He was one of 2 hitters. He was a 220 hitter. One of the 2 guys, he and Ozzie Smith, that made themselves from 220 hitters into 300 hitters.
DeGrom ahead 0-2 on Rupp. Struck him out. Threw a fastball right by him at 93. Hardest pitch he's thrown so far this afternoon. So DeGrom just getting loose. No score in the second. Dominated the Phillies last year, but there were certainly moments to remember, moments of tension, whether it was Matt Harvey hitting Chase Utley and Daniel Murphy admiring a home run, Hansel Robles quick pitching Darren Ruff, Jeff Francoeur and Larry Boa getting all hot under the collar.
That's Larry.
Later, Cameron Rupp got hit by Robles, which led to his suspension. So, you know, these teams play a lot, sometimes get on each other's nerves. Michael Conforto leads off in the second.
Larry's like the Harvey Keitel of baseball. You know, he's got some energy, doesn't he?
Yes.
The rugged face.
It's the way he played, too. He was a pepper pot.
Briefly a Met.
Yes, he was.
I saved him one day with a pinch hit blast in Candlestick. He wanted to take me to dinner.
Off Mark Davis.
Remember that?
Hanging hook.
He came around third base and they got held up and he got thrown out. And I came up and hit the home run that won the game. And on the plane, he goes, "Keith, I got to buy you dinner."
Did you take him up on it?
No, I didn't. I said, "No. You want to do me a favor? Buy me a drink." It's cheaper too.
Got off easy. Fastball just missed to Conforto, and it's 3-1. Conforto had some success against Eichhoff last year, 4 for 8 with a home run.
Well, you already see he's worked a 3-1 count, Gary. Such a tremendous knowledge of the strike zone.
And he flares one down the left field line. Foul. 3-2.
Got sawed off there. You got to wonder sometimes you get sawed off so bad and your bat doesn't break. You go, how did my bat survive that?
Well, the Phillies have the full shift on against Conforto. It's going to be interesting to watch with him this year how teams adapt to him in terms of the way they play the infield.
I don't get the shift. He hasn't been around the big leagues long enough. I know they have plenty of time. They've scouted him in the minors, but we've seen him use nothing. We've seen him use left center field.
Well, the left fielder's too shallow. I'll tell you that right now with the wind blowing out.
7th pitch of the at bat to Conforto, and it's well inside, and he's on with a leadoff walk. Actually, it hit him, so technically it goes in the books as a hit by pitch. Here's the series last year, and it was even more lopsided than that. The Mets got swept in Philadelphia the last week of the season after they had already clinched. They were at one point ahead 14-2 in the season series. Mets have beaten the Phillies 27 times combined the last 2 years. Only once in their history they've had a span of 2 years where they've beaten a team more in back-to-back seasons. That was 86 and 87. They beat the Pirates 29 times. Remember the 86, I think it was 17-1 that year against Pittsburgh.
It was.
As Drew Cabrera takes a balloon curveball outside.
Well, the Mets had the best winning percentage within their division than any team in baseball last year.
Well, it's interesting this year because every division has a couple of teams that are expected to sink to the bottom, and Phillies and Braves are those two teams in the East. And the Mets dominated those two teams last year. The question is, can you do that kind of thing over and over, and can you do it better than with teams like Washington and Miami that you might be competing with toward the top of the division?
I think if you are a championship team, that's what you have to do all the time anyway. So you're looking at 25+ wins you want against the two bottom teams.
Cabrera trying to push a bunt, and that trickles foul. Well, with Blanco playing back and off the line, Cabrera figured that was worth a try, and he almost got it done.
Good effort right there. It's a smart play. He think ball stays fair. He's got himself a base hit.
Anytime a left-hander bats that way, when the ball hits the ground, it's always going to have spin that's working towards foul territory.
So what's the best way to ensure that it doesn't go foul?
Bite off a little more grass.
So keep it a little further toward the pitcher and figure it'll work away from him. 1-2 from Eichhoff, and the curveball bends low. 2-2.
Well, the two best bunters I've ever saw was, and Ronnie will agree with one of them, was Bud Harrelson.
Yeah.
And I'm going way back, Maury Wills. Maury Wills could put down a drag bunt with the best of them.
I never saw Maury too much, but Rod Carew was always the guy that I thought was an excellent bunter.
How about Brett Butler? And a throw to second after Conforto faked the goal from first. Rupp didn't realize it was a fake and threw through. No harm done.
Well, Conforto really gave a good fake, but it wasn't really a fake. He really wanted to go, but he didn't get a good jump. See how he kind of loses his footing and stumbles a little bit? That's why he shut it down. But Rupp did not.
Well, now it's 3-2.
Now he can run. I don't like every stolen bases on 2-2. I just don't like it. Or stolen base attempts.
Travis d'Arnaud hitting 8th, and the order is on deck. Conforto at first and nobody out. 3-2 to Cabrera, and Conforto runs and Cabrera flicks one foul.
Bunting is a lost art. We're trying to think of guys that bunt contemporary players.
I think
none comes right to mind.
Anybody on the Giants?
The recently retired Juan Pierre probably is as close as you're going to get in a contemporary mode. Again, Conforto runs. Eichhoff feels the comebacker, and it's dropped at second by Galvis, and everybody's safe. Well, Eichhoff fielded it well, made a perfect throw, and Galvis just didn't catch it.
Tailor-made double play. Perfect feed. Oh, a little sinker. It's a little sinker.
And he was also trying to step forward and get out of the way of the sliding Conforto and took his eye off the ball.
He's not in a good position to make the catch.
And plus, you're supposed to catch it with 2 hands. Come on.
You make sure of one always, kids out there. Make sure you get the one.
So it's an error on the shortstop, giving assist to the pitcher. And now 2 aboard with nobody out. And Travis d'Arnaud, the batter. d'Arnaud looking for his first hit of the year. He's gone 0 for 6 to date. Travis watches wide, 2-0. We saw this last year with the Phillies. Odubel Herrera plays a very shallow center field, and against a guy like d'Arnaud, who's got a lot of power, that's shockingly shallow.
Yeah, Herrera has gotten off to a slow start. You see Jacob deGrom on deck. A couple of errors already early in the season.
2-0 coming, and Travis takes it low.
Well, here's
Eichhoff pitching himself into trouble.
There's a situation where it should be 2 outs, nobody on, and now you're 3-0. Runners on first and second, nobody out.
Cesar Hernandez in for a word. Eichhoff's thrown 42 pitches. Half of them have been balls. Mets have been very patient with him early on. He's already walked a batter and hit a batter.
3-0 conversation. Throw a strike.
Well, you got the pitcher on deck. Got to have a green light here, right?
Maybe not. d'Arnaud, he might give it because d'Arnaud's been struggling.
And there's ball 4, and the bases are loaded for deGrom. So a hit batsman, an error, and a walk fill the bases with nobody out.
Target on the outside corner.
Well, he hit the glove. That's why it was ball 4. Watch this. He doesn't move his glove. That's where he wanted the ball. He got it. Ball 4. You can't do that if you're a catcher. You have to sit down the middle.
It's pitching a little.
What's he doing?
A little scared.
I've never seen a catcher set up on the out and a ball.
Now, if I'm Jacob deGrom, because Eichhoff has pretty good control. I wouldn't say he's a guy that loses his control. He just walked the 8th place hitter. The pitcher's up. He doesn't want to get behind him. The first pitch you get is going to be down the middle.
And this is one of the things that all this talk and ballyhooing about this Met starting rotation. What gets overlooked is this starting rotation can hit.
Yep. Now deGrom's got an opportunity here. See how the hitting improved last year after a devil of a time of it in 2014. Bases loaded, nobody out. And Jake takes inside, ball 1.
The Mets pitchers almost have their own hitting coach in Pat Ressler, who's with them all the time in spring training games, working on their hitting.
Jared Eichhoff trying to sidestep a mess in the 2nd inning. And deGrom grounds one toward the hole. Hernandez runs it down and gets it out as the first run comes home. Conforto scores, and it's 1-0 New York. deGrom picks up his 7th career run batted in. A triply productive out.
Pretty good range shown here by Hernandez getting over there. And deGrom's a low ball hitter. Slightly open stance. Just got it in under his bat a little bit. Good swing.
And now an RBI chance for Curtis Granderson with the infield playing back. 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. And Curtis pops it up. Back comes Blanco to make the call. And staggers but stays with it for the 2nd out. And that's a big out for Jared Eichhoff. Well, so Granderson, who saw more pitches per plate appearance than any hitter in the majors last year, went after the first one on an RBI spot and popped up. And so it's left to David Wright, who drilled a double to right center his first time up. handled. If you're out there in the outfield, it's probably a little chillier because the wind is blowing out that way. Where we're sitting, the wind is behind us and it's not quite as cold. Temperature in the upper 40s. Second and third and 2 down. And David can't stop the swing on the slider. 0-1.
Well, David was jumping on a first pitch fastball right there and didn't get it.
Cabrera at third. Darno at second with 2 down. A run is in. And Eichhoff, the way this inning began, would be thrilled if he can get out of it with just the 1 run.
It's the kind of game where if you're a pitcher and you're struggling with your control, you can hear the infielders murmuring with anger. Throw a strike. It's freezing out here.
You heard me there, Jim?
Oh, big time.
Well, they threw 25 pitches in the first inning, 22 more in this inning. So they've been out there a while. And Rupp has to go down to block that slider. 1-1.
A lot of pitches being thrown in the first 2 innings by Eichhoff.
It's interesting, if you're a right-handed hitter, we have not seen one fastball in to a right-handed hitter yet. All the pitches from Eichhoff, breaking balls or fastballs, have been away.
He's thrown the lefties in, but not the righties.
The righties. So he likes the glove side of the plate the best.
And David offered briefly but held back. 2-1. Wright looking for his first run batted into the season. Yoenis Cespedes would be next. Eichhoff in the second inning about to throw his 50th pitch of the day.
And the Philly bullpen has not been very good.
Shambles. Pulled toward the hole but cut off by Blanco. And he makes the throw on target to get right, and that retires the side. Mets cash an unearned run in the second and lead it 1-0 after 2. Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary, a lifetime of freedom in a world of adventure. Get to Citi Field tomorrow when the Mets take on the Phillies for the first fireworks night of 2016, presented by Coca-Cola. After the game, fans can enjoy an exciting fireworks show that will light up the sky. For tickets, visit Mets.com/fireworks.
Nice addition, right?
That new banner just slid in there.
Oh, just keep adding on.
Plenty of room. Plenty of room. Emmanuel Burris leads off in the third. Jacob deGrom pitching with the lead for the first time. He drove in the game's first run. Burris getting the start in left field today, his first start of the season.
Came up in 08 with the Giants, had a good year, but since then it's all been the pitchers have figured him out.
He lines one to short, right at Cabrera. One away. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Eichhoff 2 for 14 in his rookie season last year. The Phillies off to an 0-3 start for the first time since 1997.
How about the Cardinals getting swept in Pittsburgh? They're 0-3.
How about the Padres not scoring and getting swept by the Dodgers?
They're 0-3. The Braves are 0-2. It's early.
Well, the Dodgers went 31 straight innings without allowing a run to start the season, and then the Giants bombarded them for 12 last night.
Hunter Pence with a grand slam.
Off Baez, right?
Yes, hanging slide piece.
The 31 innings of shutout ball to start the season, one shy of the major league record. The 1963 Cardinals went 32 innings to start the year without allowing a run. Strike 3 called. That's number 3 for DeGrom as he gets Eichhoff for the second out.
Well, 2 outs in this inning. This is where you start as your ERA as a pitcher for the shutdown inning. You just got to run. Can you put a 0 on the board?
Freddie Galvi's a guy that DeGrom has had trouble with. Flied out his first time up, but he's now 5 for 9 lifetime against Jake. And the curveball in for a strike. How would you rate DeGrom's secondary pitches? Which would you consider his best secondary pitch?
It changes because what's interesting about Jake is that his slider one game can look like a curveball like it does today, and another day it can look like a cutter. His arm action is such that he doesn't have, I don't know, what would you call it? He doesn't repeat the break on his breaking pitches. They're different every game depending on the arm slot. So you would think that would be a weakness, but he's always around the strike zone, so it becomes a strength. Guys can't sit on a certain pitch because he doesn't even know how it's going to break.
And then how does his changeup factor in?
Changeup is the pitch that when he has control of that, those are the games where he strikes out 10 plus. Games where he throws 7 shutout.
I like his changeup.
Yep.
Behind on Galvi's 3-1. He just pours one in.
And this is what I like too. He's never afraid to throw his fastball, and he's never gotten away from knowing that number 1 sets up everything else.
And you know, behind in the count, he's going to challenge you. He almost never walks anybody. 1.8 walks per 9 innings last year. And Galvis chases one, and that saves DeGrom a walk, his 4th strikeout. 1-2-3 inning for Jake. Mets lead 1-0. Only T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium for out-of-market games. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. Home third inning at Citi Field. Yoenis Cespedes leads off against Jared Eichhoff, who is given up only one hit, but he's thrown 50 pitches over the first 2 innings. Cespedes struck out his first time up, and he takes wide for ball 1. Cespedes, Duda, and Walker for the Mets in the third. They pull the infielder out of the left against Yoenis, and it's outside 2-0. For all the shifting we've seen in Major League Baseball, you just still don't see this too often against right-hand hitters.
Well, I think the most difficult thing about Cespedes, you see, very nice. You know who her favorite player is that Cespedes is not Albert Pujols. He's not a big lumbering guy who can't run. So if he hits anything to the left or right of someone and they have that long throw, he can beat it out.
Well, especially if Howard's the only guy on the right side with his lack of range, but he pops one up that Howard can handle, and that's the first out. Yeah, I mean, if he hits a dribbler past the mound, it's over.
Yeah.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Lucas Duda, who walked his first time up. Mets are already 0 for 5 in this game with runners in scoring position. 1 for 23 to start the season. So the offense still trying to get it untracked.
It's much more difficult on the offense early in the season when the weather's bad. It's definitely easier for the pitcher. Stay warm.
If they come into the game hitting 197 as a team, what I look at is they got a win in there. So, you know, you get more concerned if you're winless. It's early in the season. So there's Eichhoff thrown inside to get at lefties.
You know, people in the game react differently to the fact that it's the first week in the season, right? Fans sometimes get all bent out of shape about a game or two, but people in the game tend to take it calm. Lifted to shallow center field, and Odubel Herrera has it all the way, 2 out. But not everybody is the same way. You see what's going on in Arizona these first few days of the season? Game 1, the Diamondbacks lose. Zach Greinke gets beat up. Chip Hale blames the media for overhyping his team. They get beat yesterday, and Chip, who we love, I mean, we were around him for several years when he was with the Mets, calls his team's play embarrassing. This is just the first 4 days of the season. So some people, even within the game, can get a little overreactive.
I would try to, as a manager, not get too bent out of shape early, especially when you have a team that is supposed to contend, the Diamondbacks, and right on the eve of you contending, you lose one of your best players.
A.J. Pollock, that was just a shame. Over near the dugout, and Blanco is there to grab it, and that retires the side. So an easy inning for Jared Eichhoff, his first of the afternoon. He threw just 8 pitches to get through that third. Still 1-0 Mets. Thing in the Mets home opener. Phillies and Mets. Mets leading 1-0. Cesar Hernandez leads off against Jacob deGrom. And showing bunt takes a strike. Corners were already in against Hernandez, who loves to lay him down. Had a base hit his first time up, 1 of 2 against deGrom so far this afternoon. Little floater into shallow left. Conforto coming on, and he makes the play. So Conforto showing a burst of speed, 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Guys, Neil Walker making his Mets home debut today, and so much talk about him, the Pittsburgh boy, Pittsburgh through and through, but he's a Mets now. How about a Mets connection for Neil Walker? And he's got a pretty good one. Walker actually came up as a catcher, and the reason he played catcher is because growing up, his idol was actually Gary Carter. Neil's dad, Tom, actually played pro ball with Gary Carter in the 70s in Montreal. Every time that Gary Carter was in town when Neil was growing up, he used to come over to the house for lunch. So Neil Walker early on, since he didn't see his dad play baseball but saw Gary Carter, he loved Gary.
Terrific play by David Wright. He throws out Odubel Herrera. Now that's vintage David Wright with that charging bare hand play.
Well, it just reminds me of the years past when Sandy Alomar Sr. was one of the coaches here and was teaching David early in his career on that bunt play, the barehanded play, and David working so hard and just paid off in big dividends here. He's one of the best at this play right here.
For you kids at home, you barehand it with the right foot, so that way when the left foot comes down, you can get rid of it right away. It's like a one thing throw. You don't need an extra step.
So quickly, deGrom has the first 2 outs in the 4th, and now Ryan Howard, and he bounces the curveball foul.
Sorry, I should have said one part. So pick it up with your right foot on the ground, left foot hits, and then right foot and throw. Beautiful.
Well, Ryan Howard. Oh, here you go, right here. And he's got the bad grip right there. So now what you do is you throw more of a sinker when you have the ball stuck in the palm of your hand like that, because you can't, it doesn't roll off your fingertips where you can throw it true. So there's a little technique to it.
It's like a change-up grip.
It is and you recognize it, and you got to make the adjustment. David's been so good at doing that. He's one of the very best.
Changeup misses to Howard, and deGrom behind 3-1.
Well, Howard now 36 years of age. The last 2 seasons have been diminished. 223, 229 batting average.
He hit 23 home runs last year, slugged almost 500, and he hits that one into the shift. Easy play for Walker from shallow right field, and that retires the side. 7 in a row set down by Jacob deGrom. That baby's going to have to wait. 1-0 Mets. Majors presented by Cadillac. Tonight, Chris Archer makes his second start for the Rays. The Royals are home against the Twins, and Ross Stripling, with all the injuries the Dodgers have had to their rotation, gets the 5th starter nod as the Dodgers and Giants continue their series after San Francisco won last night. Michael Conforto, first pitch swinging as we start the home 4th inning. Conforto was hit by a pitch and scored the only run of this game in the second.
So Conforto's had 9 at bats. He's been on base 5 times, a couple of walks, a couple of hits, and a hit by pitch.
And Eichhoff misses with a curveball, 1-1.
You know, it's interesting, Keith, is when you watch Eichhoff, a lot of pitches in the first couple of innings. Game plan could be, because of the bullpen of the Phillies, you know it's a work in progress. Do you go to a game plan where you take more pitches, work the count, try to get this pitch count up? He's not going more than 100 here in April.
Well, I tell you what, we are always aware going into a game, if a team comes in for a series, if they got a bad bullpen, it's like, it used to be, let's knock the starter out. You know, don't take pitches. I know it's a whole different ball game today, but it was okay. Let's get the starter early and get into that bullpen. And by hook or crook, whatever way you can get him, whether it's working him not throwing strikes, which right now in this game Eichhoff is having problems throwing strikes.
3-2 to Conforto and a 3-2 breaking ball, and he just got a piece of that.
That's a nasty breaking ball and staying in the at bat right there. Barely got a piece of it. But it never was a defensive way to get into the bullpen. It was an aggressive way. The best way to get rid of a starting pitcher is to knock him out.
But it's amazing how that has evolved just in the last few years. Conforto hooks one to right field. Back goes Hunter, and he'll have room in front of the warning track to reel it in for the first out. You know, as recently as 6 or 7 years ago, the evolving plan for most teams was take a lot of pitches, work the pitcher, get into the middle relief. If we can get the starter out early, we can beat them. But with the evolution of bullpens just in the last half decade, with all the hard throwers in the game, that's not as effective a strategy as it once was.
Well, think about it for the team cross town. The way you're going to beat them is you just got to punish their starting pitching, because you don't want to get the Patances or Miller.
Right. Now,
or Chapman in time.
I mean, in many ways, a team like the Phillies or the Braves, they're the oddball. That banks off the pitcher Eichhoff into no man's land, and as Dribble Cabrera has himself a base hit.
You know, another thing too, Gary, when you're going deep in counts and trying to draw walks, it's like having a singles hitting team. You got to bunch up a bunch of base hits together, or in this case, a bunch of walks. It's much easier just to bat the ball around, knock the pitcher out.
Well, I mean, we just came from Kansas City, and you know they are the progenitors of the shifting theories in the game. The fact that they are so aggressive offensively, don't wait around to take walks, and they've had so much success.
They have such a good bullpen too on the other side that they can pay an Ian Kennedy $70 million to pitch 5 or 6 innings.
Travis d'Arnaud walked on 4 pitches his first time up. So Eichhoff, after an easy 3rd inning that saw him throw only 8 pitches, back with base runners aboard now here in the 4th. Cabrera's infield hit, just the Mets' second hit of the game.
So Keith, you talked about Jacob deGrom and the Mets pitchers, pretty good hitters. Does that maybe give your manager thinking about a hit and run here with 1 out, 1-0 count?
With d'Arnaud, he's struggling right now. He never had a bad spring.
Yeah.
I'd kind of want him to get the pitch he wants to hit.
Popped up. Galvis shading his eyes and puts it away, 2 out. So d'Arnaud retired, 2 away, and now here's deGrom, who drove in the only run of this game with the bases loaded, ground out in the second.
It's quite a thing if the Mets can get deGrom through this game, the start with the situation he has with a child on the way, you know, it gives him 4 days to be away from the team and be with his family.
Well, you know, you go back to last year and you had 2 pitchers who worked while their babies were being born, right? John Neese had trouble that night. Jerry's Familia, on the other hand, was brilliant.
John said he shouldn't have started that game.
Yeah, I heard that. After 4, 1-0 New York. Citi Field this Sunday to watch the Mets battle the Phillies at 1:10. All fans in attendance will receive a Mets rally towel. Plus, it's the first Family Sunday of 2016. All kids 12 and under can run the bases post-game in the Mr. Met Dash. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Fifth inning brought to you by your Tri-State Ford dealers, who invite you to test drive a new Ford. You'll discover why Ford is the total package. Andres Blanco leads off the fifth inning for the Phillies against Jacob deGrom, who's thrown 4 scoreless innings to start his season. Blanco grounded out to short his first time up, playing third base today for Maikel Franco. Got hit on the elbow by a pitch yesterday in Cincinnati. Franco available to pinch hit, might be in the lineup as soon as tomorrow.
Might have had the best spring, he and Nolan Arenado. 9 home runs Franco had in spring training.
I don't want to waste him down there.
That's a Darren Reed kind of a spring. A Butch Husky kind of a spring.
Right. You want that kind of in April like that, not a March.
You know, the Mets have seen very little of Franco because he was hurt a good portion of the time last year when the Mets faced the Phillies. I think he only had 12 at bats against the Mets, but he's the most exciting position player on this team right now. Hit hard, and Blanco's got a base hit. So there's the third hit against deGrom, who had retired 7 in a row.
Looked like a high change. See it come out of his hand. Yeah.
You know, the Phillies lost 99 games last year, and they will have the first pick in the draft come June. Played a little better after the All-Star break, after they changed managers, and that won Pete Mackanin, who had been the interim manager, a full-time job. In fact, he just signed a 2-year contract extension this spring. You saw Franco there at the bottom, 280 last year as a rookie. Hunter pops one up to short, and Cabrera waiting for it. 1 out.
Well, the way the rules are now, as far as draft picks and how much they're coveted, if you're going to be bad, be real bad.
The problem is, if you have a half-dozen teams all trying to be the same level as bad, only one team's going to get that first pick.
And it's not good for the game.
No. No, it's good for the Mets because they've got 2 teams in their division who really are not in it to win it this year, the Phillies and the Braves.
In the Braves case, it makes a little more sense in that they are retooling to get ready to succeed when they get in their new ballpark next year. I don't know if it'll be quite that quick, but at least there's a method there.
And John Hart has made a lot of trades for some really terrific young arms.
Well, it'll be interesting if things change. Ruben Amaro, who was a great college player at Stanford, was the GM. He's now out. New people have taken over. 43 of their last 53 picks have been collegians. Let's see if that changes under the new regime.
Ruben has a new job as a first base coach.
Well, their general manager is a Dartmouth grad. Played, and I talk about Matt Klentak, and he played shortstop for the Dartmouth team. He was the team captain. They won the, what do they call it, Ronnie? That Ivy League, the Red Rolf Division Championship.
Red Rolf Field.
Very
where
good.
Plays their games.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Not bad for a West Coast kid.
Rump takes strike 3 call. Strikeout number 5 for Jacob deGrom. 2 down.
Well, he just paints him on that outside corner. Let's see if it's a strike overhead.
Too close to take.
Too close to take when you played?
Well, I might get away with it. I doubt it. That's a strike.
Can't moan too much if you're a catcher.
Yeah.
Want those calls on the other side. That's 5 strikeouts or 15 combs. There's Emmanuel Burris, who hit the ball hard his first time up, lined out to Cabrera at short. And as the sun starts to peek through, first time this afternoon.
Well, hopefully the infielders have their shades maybe on top of their caps, or at least have them just in case.
Top of their caps. What good is that going to do?
Well, I'm just saying they can change now.
You can take them from on top of your cap.
Oh, I see. I got you. I got you.
I know.
Move them to the proper location.
I know they probably got a contract with the sunglass company, but it's something about those flip downs. You just couldn't. I couldn't wait to put them on because that was big league.
See, now
flips.
Neil just took them off his cap and put them on the bridge of his nose.
There you go.
David's got some flippers.
Yeah.
The thing that I loved about the flip down glasses, and I was a pitcher, so it never concerned me, is when infielders had to come in and you had that big luggage kind of case that you would open it up, and everyone's everyone's glasses would be in there under their number, and they'd pick out their one, put it on, and run back on the field.
But there was nothing better as a kid to be out in the field there with those flip downs. You felt like a big leaguer.
And most people didn't know how to use them if you weren't a big leaguer.
I wore them every day game, just on general principle, to look good, and usually my eyes were watering in those day games.
I'll never forget when Ryan Klesko played for the Braves. They moved him from first base to the outfield, and one of the first games he played out there was a sunny afternoon at Shea Stadium. And the first fly ball that went up, he tried to flip down the sunglasses, kept hitting his hat,
Yeah, that's right.
missing the sunglasses, and it was kind of a disaster.
Well, Keith can tell you the lens had a little protrusion that would come outside of your cap, so you just brush down on that and the glasses would come down.
You flick it with your index finger.
deGrom registers strikeout number 6 as he takes care of Burris with a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. And that's how Jacob works around to lead off hit in the 5th. deGrom making it look easy halfway through. 1-0 New York.
Your forward fifth inning recap. Mets got an unearned run against Jared Eichhoff in the second. Unable to cash in some other opportunities. Meanwhile, Jacob deGrom has been marvelous through 5 scoreless innings. No walks, 6 strikeouts. And a 1-0 Met lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th. No phone call yet. Curtis Granderson, third time around the batting order, takes a strike from Eichhoff.
I have a feeling that if Mrs. deGrom goes into labor, he's not going to be informed until after the game, or he's out of the game.
He said yesterday that if he gets the call during the game, he's gone.
Really?
Yes. Now, I don't know if he'll hold true to that, but.
Well, he's got his 5 innings in now.
Yes, he does. Granderson down on 3 pitches. And there's the third strikeout for Eichhoff.
Eichhoff's showing me something here. He's got a nice little hook.
Remember last year when he started against the Mets, he had a real tough go of it in the first inning. I think gave up 3, maybe 4 runs in the first, and after that he made it into the 7th inning, and that's when I was real impressed. You know, that could have been a game that could have totally got away from him, but it did not.
With Eichhoff and Aaron Nola, they've got a couple of young starters that they can start to build around here.
Vinny Velasquez, who they got from Houston, can throw awfully hard.
We'll see him tomorrow. Good curveball into David Wright.
It's starting to get a little rhythm here. What's going on? Oh, something blew on the field, I see.
One of those inflatable bats. David drove a double to right center his first time up today, then grounded out in the second. Eichhoff threw 50 pitches in the first 2 innings, but he's been much more efficient since then. Just 24 pitches to the last 9 batters. And Pete Mackanin greatly appreciates that, because the longer he can delay going to his bullpen, the better he'll feel. The Phillies bullpen in their first series of the year had a 12.91 ERA. And they still don't know who the closer is.
Why don't you just round it up to 13, Gare?
Well, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I was told that today that Jean-Marc Gomez might close today if they get the opportunity. There's Bobby McClure on the right, Pete Mackanin on the left.
My old homie, Bobby.
2-2. David pops one up in foul ground. Should be playable for Howard. And that's the second out. Well, in their first 2 games of the season, the Phillies blew leads late. They tried Dalier Hinojosa as the closer in the first game. They tried David Hernandez as the closer in the second game, and neither one of those worked out. So I guess Gomez is the next man up. But that's the kind of season it's going to be for the Phillies.
Yes.
Well, with the Sixers tanking and the Phillies not far behind, probably the most important sporting event in Philadelphia today, as Cespedes lines one to center and Herrera gets back to grab it, side retired. The Villanova parade.
Oh, that's right.
For the national champions. That's the big event in Philly. After 5, 1-0 New York. Premier of Jets Nation, who will be under center for gangrene, get a breakdown of the biggest question heading into the season. Plus, what will Matt Forte bring to the Jets backfield after the loss of Chris Ivory on the season premiere of Jets Nation Sunday at 7, only on SNY. Sixth inning, 1-0 New York. Pitcher Jared Eichhoff leads off. Eichhoff struck out his first time up, one of 6 strikeouts for Jacob deGrom through the first 5 innings. And the breaking ball bounced foul. 0-2.
Well, deGrom, he doesn't get any better than this. He's working quickly, efficiently, on top of his game.
He's working his way straight to the delivery room.
Ronnie, would you send a limo for this lineup or what? Well, you've got a lot of young players. You've got a lot of, other than Howard, maybe Rupp, not a lot of power in the lineup either. I mean, Galvis is 30s. Hernandez is in his 30s. Blanco's in his 30s. Aren't they in their 30s? Blanco? I don't think Galvis is.
Galvis is 26.
Okay, so they got some veteran journeyman players in this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Blanco's a backup player.
Right.
I mean, Franco is young. He's not playing today. Galvis, Hernandez, those guys.
Burris is in his 30s. Or 30
yeah, again, he's a backup player.
You're right, exactly. I mean, journeyman backup players are playing every day.
Eichhoff gets one out to right center field. Back in the gap goes Cespedes, but he won't get to it. And Eichhoff has an extra base hit. And just like that, the Phillies have the tying run in scoring position with nobody out.
Well, I think McCannon here, the manager of the Phillies, let's take a look at the hit first. Fastball right down the pipe, and give the pitcher credit here. Caught him by surprise, opposite field, opposite gap. Do you bunt? I think I would bunt here if I'm Pete McCannon. Try to get your team, get a win, get back in this ball game, tie it up. Boy, I hate bunting with big-bodied pitchers on the bases. They just don't get to the base you want them to get to. And the Mets feel they're bunting. David Wright in aggressively at third. Duda in at first.
Freddie Galvis is 0 for 2. Jared Eichhoff's first major league extra base hit. And Darno thinking about throwing behind Eichhoff, who scrambles back. So the Phillies have their 4th hit against deGrom, their first extra base hit, and it comes from the opposing pitcher. Corners stay in against Galvis, who's flied out and struck out 0 for 2. And he's set to swing and takes it outside 2-0, and Darno will run it back to deGrom.
Now deGrom is going to win a Gold Glove someday. He's just too good of an athlete. But this is a weird play for a pitcher, because if Galvis decides again to square around and bunt, as you see the bat boy coming out with a jacket for Jared Eichhoff right before he's supposed to run the bases, doesn't make much sense to me. But if he bunts and the bunt is back to you, like the people ate it. If it bunts it back to you as a pitcher, when you turn, you've got to make sure that runner's going, because if he's not going, you got to go get the out.
I just want you to know that I think you have had at least something to do with the crowd's negative feelings about the pitcher wearing the jacket.
I'm so happy, guys. Way to go. You got cold.
And Galvis bangs one up the middle. Great stop by Cabrera, and he gets the out. Asdrubal Cabrera might have saved a run right there. Definitely saved a base hit. Eichhoff goes to third, but that's an outstanding play by Asdrubal.
Well, there's the case where you're kind of holding a hole, hit the mound and kicked up, but still a very fine play by Cabrera. And a big hang with him for Galvis. Nice play.
So now how do you play the infield? 1-0 lead.
Halfway. They're going to come in halfway in at the corners.
deGrom in a spot where he could use a strikeout, facing Cesar Hernandez, who's 1 for 2. Have to figure it would take a pretty good fly ball to get Eichhoff home from third.
Accurate arm in left with Conforto. Shortest throw. Cespedes the best arm by far in the outfield. And Curtis does not throw as well anymore. That's where you'd like to hit it.
Actually, all you got to do is just hit it deep enough. The sacrifice fly situation, you never want to go up there trying to pull. You want to go up the middle.
Infield most of the way in. And the curveball pulled to second. The runner will hold. Walker makes the play. 2 out. Infield in was the right place to be. Well, now DeGrom with a chance to get through the inning.
With the infield and the middle infielders in between halfway and in, it takes off the contact play with the pitcher at third base. And now DeGrom is 1 out away from getting out of this jam.
He's got to get through Odubel Herrera, who tried to bunt his way on his last time up, and it took a tremendous play by David Wright to barehand it and throw him out. Herrera 0 for 2 today, just 1 for 13 to start the season. Tying run at 3rd and 2 out, 1-0 New York, 6th inning. And the curveball wraps around the plate, ball 1.
Interesting. DeGrom here went to the breaking ball here with the leadoff double, in trouble. Going for the big out.
You got Ryan Howard standing on deck. Change up. 2-0.
Well, I know what he's thinking. His thought is, you know, you don't want to groove a fastball, or Herrera's going up there to look first pitch fastball, so you kind of counter with something soft. But if you don't throw it for a strike, you put yourself right back in a vulnerable position at 2-0.
Is he almost pitching as though he'd rather face Howard in this one?
I would not.
I wouldn't. Right.
Well, he throws a 2-0 changeup, and now it's 3-0.
And maybe you're right, Gary. He might be pitching around him, but Jacob's got to know that Howard does have some numbers against him. He's done some damage.
He's done plenty of damage over the years against the Mets. 3-0 to Herrera. And a borderline strike, 3-1.
Well, over the past few years or decade, it would have been Chase Utley right up in this situation. Been a whole different ball game.
By the way, did you guys see Jimmy Rollins the other day in a White Sox uniform? That is the strangest sight. It was odd enough with the Dodgers. The White Sox? 3-1 coming. And Herrera takes one the other way, and that'll tie up the game. Eichhoff trots home with the first Phillies run. An RBI single for Odubel Herrera ties the game at 1.
Nice hitting. Took that fastball outside corner right where it was pitched. Couldn't do it better myself.
This is why they like Herrera so much, is that here he was, he laid off the 2 breaking pitches and then contact here on the 3-1 fastball. Hit it late, right over the plate, and drove it to left.
Hey, all that's needed is a base hit. You want it at 2 out RBI is always the toughest. You want to get your team back in the ball game.
So now the go-ahead run at first with Herrera, and Ryan Howard, who's 0 for 2, takes it way high, ball 1.
You can watch it. Watch his eyes on the ball. His head stays right with it, and that's what happens when you fall behind 3-0, and you pitch in 3-1. It's a hitter's count.
What I don't understand, Ronnie, from a pitching perspective is if you're going to throw 3 secondary pitches in a row to start the at-bat, why do you throw a fastball on 3-1?
Because what he's thinking, he's going to outthink Herrera. He's saying, okay, I've thrown him some soft stuff. 3-1, he's going to be looking for something soft. I'm going to try to sneak one fastball by him. He never got there.
Howard hits one out to center field, and Cespedes eases over. And that retires the side, but not before the Phillies get a big 2-out hit from Odubel Herrera to tie the game. 1-1 going to the bottom of the 6th. Chris Carlin and John Hine will have all the reactions from today's Mets home opener. Plus, will most likely agree to disagree on what to expect as the Mets continue their series against the Phillies at Citi Field on Loudmouth today at 5:30, only on SNY. Lucas Duda has walked and flied out. Jared Eichhoff back even. So let's see. DeGrom has driven in the only Met run, and Eichhoff has scored the only Phillies run. Truly a pitcher's day. Duda hoping to change that, ahead on the count 2-0. Walker and Conforto to follow. And Lucas rips one into right field for a base hit. It'll go all the way to the wall. Duda heads for second. And in standing with a leadoff double. First extra base hit of the season for Lucas Duda.
Fastball in. Lucas turns on it. There you go. That's how it's done.
So Eichhoff leads the last inning off with a double. Now he's going to have to pitch out of the same circumstance.
And now they're going to see this very professional hitter in Neil Walker here. This is a really a situation hitting double there, but it's that kind of situation where you want to pull the ball, you want to drive the run in. The minimum is you can advance the runner here. Got to get something to pull.
Phillies get their bullpen rolling with Eichhoff up over 80 pitches. Walker 0 for 2 today, and he gets jammed and fouls it off.
Well, we saw Cabrera do it before. Walker doesn't run as well, but they are just giving him, if he wants to bunt it towards third, giving him the hit.
Daniel stumped the left-hander. Dalier Hinojosa the right-hander in the Phillies bullpen. Stumpf made his debut yesterday. You see how that went? Came in with 2 men on, got ahead of his first batter 0-2, walked him, and then gave up a grand slam. That's a hard way to start your big league career.
Nice.
Eichhoff just missed.
Good eye right there. That was a tough pitch to lay off. Good overhand hook. Walker, I like those. The separation of his feet there on shoulder width. I like that.
Has to move those feet. 2-1. Michael Conforto waits on deck. Mets have had just 3 hits this afternoon. Wright doubled in the first, Cabrera an infield hit in the 4th, and now Duda has doubled to start the 6th.
And Walker hits one right back through the middle, a base hit. Duda being waved around third. Charging it is Herrera. The throw to the plate is not in time, and the Mets have the lead right back. Neil Walker, an RBI single. It's 2-1 New York.
Third RBI on the year. Big one.
What'd you say about that professional at bat, Keith?
Yes, sir. And a fastball takes it right up the middle. And both RBI at bats for Walker have been go-aheads.
Herrera plays shallow, but Tim Teufel was aggressive, sending Duda.
A good move. You know, you're out there, you're standing, it's cold weather. Hard to get it going and get something on that baseball.
So the Mets have the lead back. Still nobody out for Conforto. Michael was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the 2nd, flied out in the 4th.
Conforto is seeing Eichhoff really well.
And he pulls one right over the bag and down the line, and that'll go all the way to the corner. Walker on his way to third. Teufel's going to wave him home. The relay throw by Hernandez to the plate is up the line, and all the way to third goes Conforto. It's 3-1 New York. Michael Conforto drives home a run with a double. 3 straight hits to start the 6th inning, and the Mets have a 2-run lead.
Well, great base running as well as great hitting here. Fastball in, turns, rips it down the line.
Now, as a back base runner here, when the relay throw is made home and you're on second base, there's no way that they can throw you out going to third. Look at the length of that throw. You've got a stand-up double, and you'll see Walker here. Walker, it's all about just hustling. And scores nicely. Nice reaction there. And Conforto on the backside is where the great base running is here. Going to third base. Heads up on the relay throw. Now watch this, kids. It's a stand-up double. Keep your eye. Oh, he picked up tougher. That's it. Pick it up yourself. And advance on the throw. You don't need to rely on your third base coach there.
Pitching change for the Phillies. Dahlia Hinojosa coming in. Jared Eichhoff out. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Dahlia Hinojosa on to pitch for the Phils. His third appearance of the season already as Dribble Cabrera up with the infield in, and he takes a strike.
Saw that he was originally signed from Cuba. Free agent for the Boston Red Sox. The Philadelphia Phillies claimed him off waivers this winter.
Pitched really well for the Phils last year. 23 innings, 15 hits, 0.78 ERA, but he's gotten roughed up early this year. Cabrera lays off the breaking ball. 1-1.
We're going to take a quick look at Conforto here. It's not a bad pitch, inside corner, but it's down mid-thigh. It'd been a better pitch up and in. Look at the quickness of the bat. Look at that beautiful balance, straight up and down. I just love this man's swing. The world is your oyster.
Cabrera pops one up behind the bag and overcomes Hernandez into foul ground for the first out. So after 3 straight hits to start the inning, Hinojosa comes in and gets an out, and now Travis d'Arnaud. So Jared Eichhoff, who looked awfully good for the first 5 innings, ran the bases, scored the tying run, and then couldn't get another out. Wound up going 5+. 5 hits, 3 runs so far, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and a hit batsman. And Alejandro De Aza has come out on deck to bat for Jacob deGrom, and you don't know whether that's strategic or paternal.
Well, before the game, Terry talked about they'd like to get deGrom through 6 innings. That's what he wanted, but his pitch count is so low.
76 pitches, so you wonder whether he got the phone call. We don't know.
And if the run gets in here on a sacrifice fly, we'll find out one way or the other. Would he use Diaz still?
Jim Henderson up in the Mets bullpen looked so impressive in his first outing on Tuesday.
He looked great all spring, Gary.
d'Arnaud has walked and popped up, infield in. And Rupp down to block it. 2-0.
Well, the Mets have now officially got into that bullpen, that Philly bullpen.
There's a knee-high strike. 2-1. Well, we're on Picks 11 tomorrow. Back on SNY Sunday for the final game of this series, and barring any postponements, that should be Matt Harvey's start on Sunday. 12:30 the coverage right here on SNY. And another block by Rupp, who's had to do some dancing back there. 3-1.
Great stop. I mean, he just spikes this fastball. Landed about 5 feet from front of the plate.
Well done. Those are not the tools of ignorance.
Who first called them?
I know. Where'd that come from?
That wasn't a Joe Garagiola line, was it?
Could have been.
3-1 coming. And d'Arnaud lines it right to Hernandez for the second out. Can't hit it much harder. But d'Arnaud hit it in the wrong spot.
Well,
now 2 out.
d'Arnaud had a little bit of a long and loopy swing in Kansas City, so I like that at bat right there. He got on top of that belt-tie fastball. That's what d'Arnaud has to do. He's a good line drive hitter.
Now Alejandro De Aza announced as a pinch hitter for DeGrom, and that'll send Pete Mackanin out to the mound. He's got a lefty working in the bullpen. And so it looks like Daniel Stumpf is coming in to face De Aza. 3-1 Mets in the 6th. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Mets have scored twice in the 6th inning. And as Daniel Stumpf gets ready to pitch, let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary Wilmer Flores on the pinch hit for Jacob DeGrom. DeGrom's wife Stacy not in labor, according to Terry Collins. Jacob's back tightened up. That's why he's out of the game right now.
Well, might be tough to sit on an airplane heading back to Florida if that's the case. So De Aza was announced the pinch hitter. Pete Mackanin goes to Daniel Stumpf, and Terry Collins' response was Wilmer Flores to get a right-hand bat against the lefty.
Wilmer Flores got one of the biggest ovations naturally into the introductions today. Daniel Stump has not pitched above Double-A until he made the roster here for Philadelphia Phillies. He's with the Royals, as Gary said, pitched in Northwest Arkansas last year where he had a strikeout per inning.
He's a Rule 5 pick. The Phillies would like to keep him, but he had a disaster of a big league debut yesterday. Walk, grand slam walk, which means he has an ERA in the big leagues of infinity. You never want to have an ERA of infinity.
Flores bats with 2 out and Conforto at third. 2 runs home in the inning,
and goes after a first pitch changeup. 0-1.
How about that? You face a guy for the first time, you don't know what he's got, and he throws a changeup at you first pitch.
Infinity ERA is like a fish, and then he throws a dead fish at you.
Good call. Daniel Stump from Humble, Texas. Always pays to be humble. And a fastball for a strike. 1-2.
It's a good spot there for the youngster. Can you imagine? Rule 5 guy, have that kind of outing yesterday, right back on the hill, and butterflies he must have.
He had a good attitude about it after the game yesterday. He said, can't do any worse. Boxed by Rupp, but no damage. 2-2.
Everything away so far to Wilmer. Again, in that situation you talk about, Keith, that Herrera was. 2 strikes, if you're going to pitch your way, go that way. Base hits enough.
Well, there's the veteran James Russell.
And Flores pokes one foul. And too far away for Howard to reach.
Well, every time I see a pitcher with number 53 on his back, I always think of Don Drysdale.
Yeah.
First at bat of the season for Wilmer Flores. And he lines one to center field. Herrera, though, is there, and that retires the side. So the Mets settle for 2 runs, RBIs for Walker and Conforto, and that sends us to the 7th, with the Mets leading 3-1.
the remainder of the series. Bartolo Colon tomorrow against Vincent Velasquez. And then Matt Harvey makes his second start Sunday against Jeremy Hellickson, who pitched very well for the Phillies in their opener. We go to the 7th inning, and Jim Henderson will make his Citi Field debut as a Met.
Well, and it made a nice impression in Kansas City, didn't he? In one inning, couple of strikeouts. He had a nice spring training to make this ball club after spending the entire year last year in AAA.
And he averaged 95.5 with his fastball, which is about 2 miles an hour faster than in his previous big league outings with the Brewers a couple of years ago before he hurt his shoulder. Andres Blanco turns around, bats left-handed here against Henderson. Blanco has one of the 5 Phillies hits on the day. This is a career resurrection for Henderson.
I like to watch Henderson when he brings it to his glove, folks. He kind of twirls it around until he gets the grip, and then he'll tap his glove before he comes to the plate. Vic Black did that when he was with the Mets.
Whatever happened to Vic Black?
Lost his control. That's golf foul. I mean, Black was supposed to be a big part of the Mets bullpen last year and never threw a pitch in the major leagues. Cedric Hunter on deck, then Cameron Rupp for the Phillies in the 7th. So DeGrom leaves after 76 pitches, and as Steve reported, it's because his back stiffened up that he left the game. 6 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts.
It's the first hitter that stepped out because of the paper bags flying across behind the mound.
New York version of the tumbling tumbleweed.
Yes. Very good, Ron.
And Henderson strikes out Blanco with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and that's the first out. Let's check in with Steve.
Guys, yesterday in a private ceremony, the Mets got their NL championship rings, and these rings are really beautiful, beautiful pieces of jewelry. 2.75 carats of genuine stone. Each ring has 110 diamonds in it, 42 sapphires. Those 42 sapphires make up the interlocking NY on the front. Cool feature of the ring that the inside of the ring has the NL championship trophy, as well as all the years that the Mets have won the NL pennant. And the company that makes these rings, Jostens, puts a lot of care into it. 42 separate people work on each ring. Takes about 10 days to 2 weeks per ring.
And the ring is absolutely gorgeous.
It is.
And there is the ring, and you know, the World Series championship rings have gotten a little ostentatious.
Yeah.
This one is less so, and in some ways it makes it more attractive. You see the NL championship years on the inside of the ring. As Steve mentioned, behind the back, fair ball for Duda, and Henderson covers, 2 out.
Nice play, Lucas. To his left, good reaction. Whatever Lucas can get to, he's sure-handed. Beautiful feed. Well done.
Oh, good job by Henderson. He's pretty quick for a big guy.
It's interesting what you just said, Keith. Whatever he can get to, he's sure-handed. I think that's a great characterization for this entire Mets infield this year.
Agreed. Very good point, Garrett.
There's Cameron Rupp with 2 out and nobody on.
Cameron Rupp must feel like he has a bullseye when he faces the Mets.
One and one to Rupp. By the way, we have a determination on tools of ignorance. It was not Joe Garagiola. It goes back further to Bill Dickey.
Oh, okay.
The great Bill Dickey.
Number 8.
One of the number 8s.
Yeah.
1 and 2 to Rupp.
Henderson's got an interesting way of throwing. He throws a little bit across his body, so that ball has a little movement up and in on the right-handed hitters.
Ahead on Rupp, 1 and 2. Struck him out. Third time Rupp's been struck out today, and another terrific inning for Jim Henderson. 1-2-3 with a couple of punch outs. Anderson making an impression. 7th inning stretch time, 3-1 New York.
Surprised a lot of people last year, but we knew we could do it. You can see the fans, they're everywhere.
I've heard about how passionate Mets fans are. A place like New York, it makes it all that much sweeter when you go out there and you win.
To be able to look in the crowd and just see the excitement on the fans' faces, it makes you feel so good as a player because you felt like you've delivered.
Well, the Mets with plenty to celebrate today on their home opener, raising the flag and riding a wave of enthusiasm as they look to repeat as National League champions and perhaps push it a step further. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Fios by Verizon. Fios is not cable, we're wired differently. Visit getfios.com today. By Cadillac, visit tristatecadillac.com for exceptional offers. And by StubHub, looking for great seats, head to StubHub, the official ticket marketplace of the New York Mets. This week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium for out-of-market games. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. James Russell will pitch for the Phillies in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, Russell started his career in 2010 with the Chicago Cubs. Was there for a long time, a high of 77 games in one of those years. Went to Atlanta for 22 and then re-signed with the Cubs last year. Now here with the Phils.
Double switch. Peter Borges comes in to play right field, so Borges will bat 9th. Russell hits in the 6th spot. Curtis Granderson up for the 4th time and takes a strike from Russell. We have a little clarification on Jacob deGrom and his exit from the game. Mets are calling it right lat tightness.
That's different than back.
Yeah, I mean, like the lat is in your back, but it's closer to your arm.
Closer to your arm, and it's also those lats all of a sudden become obliques.
It's Blanco playing on the right side, who throws out Granderson for the first out. There's Peter Borges, now playing right field. So what did we decide? 5-3 with 4 in parentheses for that ground.
Oh, that's
right.
Yeah.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now David Wright, who's 1 for 3, hit a double to right center back in the first inning. So lat tightness translates to what? Well, in terms of how you deal with that as a pitcher.
You won't know till tomorrow. It's one of those things that you're in the cold weather, you're getting up and down, and then you find out that it starts to get a little stiff on you in an inning, and you let your manager or pitching coach know. Just didn't want to push it.
Yeah, just to make some connections.
Yeah.
Now, last year, Steven Matz had a lat injury that knocked him out for 2 months.
Of course, it's always the severity of it. Right. So if you start to feel it, if you're smart, you get out of there, get out of Dodge as soon as you can.
And if you remember when Matz first went down, he blamed a mattress for the problem. And if you'll recall correctly, DeGrom had an issue with his back this spring related to a mattress.
These guys are making some serious iron. Get some better mattresses, boys.
Well, remember Jake had a better mattress shipped in.
That's right.
Down to Port St. Lucie to make sure that the problem didn't get any worse. So it'll be something that certainly bears watching now. David swings through the fastball, 3-2.
James Russell, when he first came up, he'd hit the mid-90s. Doesn't throw as hard anymore.
His dad was a terrific big league reliever.
Boy, he could throw hard.
Came up starting.
With the Reds, right?
Yep. Threw hard.
His father, Jeff Russell, and Bobby Witt were teammates with the Texas Rangers. They lived in the same housing project. This beautiful project where they had beautiful homes. And it was James Russell, son of Jeff Russell, and Nikki Witt, daughter of Bobby Witt. And they've gotten married.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Housing project. That's.
David draws a 1-out walk. He's on base for the second time. Here's your Verizon trivia question for today. The last time the Mets and Phillies both finished a season above 500. Well, it had to be in the last decade, right?
I was thinking 08 or 07, right?
Yeah. 06, 07, 08. I would think all those years,
yeah.
right? And the Phillies, Mets won in 06, and Phillies won in 07 and 08. Here's Cespedes, is 0 for 3 and lined out hard to center field his last time up.
Remember, Jeff Russell and Bobby Witt were traded for Ruben Sierra for Jose Canseco. And Jose went over there. I remember he did pretty well with Texas, but had that famous home run conk off his head in right field in Cleveland.
Bobby Witt was such a fireballer when he first came up, and it was funny because he was a kid from Canton, Mass, with a thick Boston accent who became a Texan.
I used to be on him all the time when I was his teammate in Oakland. Fake cowboy, I used to call him.
Well, that's like Jeff Kent. Jeff grew up in the Bay Area, and he fell in love with Texas.
Yeah,
he became a Texan.
I used to always kid Bobby Witt. We were at Las Vegas at one of the tables, and I kidded him because he loved country and western music, that while they were shuffling the cards, I could write a country and western song.
How'd you do?
Got a bad one done. Which could be a title of one.
I wrote a bad country song while they shuffled the cards.
Or a bad one done.
Speaking of which, Merle Haggard passed away.
Oh yeah.
Great loss. Even if you're not a big country music fan, he had such a huge influence on all sorts of popular music. Wright runs, and Cespedes lines one over short for a base hit. David will go first to third. So David running on an 0-2 pitch, and Cespedes able to get it over the shortstop's head. She loves seeing that.
Well, it's good to see Cespedes get it and go a little backdoor slider. Too much, just a little spinner. So they tried to get Cespedes to go to right center field, but he's been pull of late. And you see all of the defensive alignments are playing him with the extreme shifts.
So a chance for Lucas Duda to cash in. Duda doubled and scored a run in the 6th. as the Mets regain the lead. Now 1st and 3rd and 1 out of the 7th. And the way this inning plays out might have an impact on how Terry uses his bullpen. He's got Addison Reed up ready for the 8th after using Henderson in the 7th. He's yet to use Antonio Bastardo in a game, but if you stretch the lead, maybe Bastardo can get an inning.
Yeah,
got to get him going. Bastardo was brought here to be a help in the 7th and 8th, but didn't have a very good spring.
Still got to get him out there, though. You can't let him sit for 2 weeks and expect him to come in and get a big out.
Right at 3rd, Cespedes at 1st with 1 out. And Duda gets tied up, but it's inside, 2-1.
It's a nice mini test here, Keith, for Duda early in the season. Lefty versus lefty. Got to get the run in with 1 out.
Well, you see his numbers last year against left-handers, very excellent, and he got off to a very hot start against the left-handers in April.
Just 1 for 11 in his career against Russell, and he takes the slider off the plate, and Rupp's had trouble catching a couple of those. Now it's 3-1. Theo Walker, who drove in the go-ahead run in the 6th inning, on deck. He's already got 1 game-winning RBI. It was Keith's favorite category. That's too high, and now the bases are loaded. 2nd straight inning, the Mets have loaded the bases. 2 walks, wrapped around a Cespedes base hit, and Walker will come up with the bases full.
Well, McClure's going to go out there, but you got to leave Russell in because of the splits that Walker has, lefty and righty hitting.
And McClure has to hustle out there because there it is, the clock, 30 seconds.
And it starts as soon as the pitching coach leaves the dugout, which leaves you, 20 seconds or less to actually have a conversation.
One of these pitching coaches is going to pull a hammy in the month of April, running out there.
Or have a heart attack.
That might be a little extreme. All right, time's up. And Paul Hart, the home plate umpire, didn't have to go far to remind Bob McClure to head back to the dugout. 30 seconds. And the between innings clock, which if you are at the game, I'm sure you saw last year, has been shortened, which means we have to do a better job getting to break after the 3rd out.
That's all on the producers.
Well, here's Walker, who drove in the go-ahead run with a 6th inning hit, and he takes low and in for ball 1. He'll hit 16 home runs last year, and all 16 came as a left-hand batter. Right at 3rd, Cespedes at 2nd, Duda at 1st. Beaten up and in, 1-1.
That was a good pitch there. Little slider to start, missed, and then came up with some gas inside and up.
Not a strike.
And again, 1-2.
Up the ladder, swung at 2 bad pitches here. Could be the 3-0 count right now.
You see the numbers from last year, the home run splits and the batting average splits, both heavily tilted toward his left-hand batting side, which is why there will be times this year when Wilmer Flores might get a start at 2nd base against a left-hand pitcher. 1-2 from Russell. He was able to make contact that time and stay alive.
Wilmer is going to get a lot of playing time this year. He's going to spell David at 3rd. 2nd base, as Gary mentioned, shortstop, and he's monkeying around 1st base a little bit and played a nice little 1st base a couple times he was out there.
He's the primary backup at all 4 infield positions. They've got Eric Campbell who can play those spots as well, but Flores is ahead of Campbell on the depth chart in all those spots. 1-2 to Walker, and he takes one the other way for a base hit. Wright comes in to score. Everybody else moves up a base. Neil Walker continues to produce, this time from the right side. He drives in a run to make it 4-1.
Well,
you just can't do that. You've been tying him up inside. He can't handle that pitch. And they decide to try something different, away and down. And Walker had a better swing on this one.
And to Walker's credit, didn't get worried inside. He's good 2-strike hitting, tried to do a backdoor slide ball.
Yeah, but if you're beating a guy with a fastball, you can't counter with something softer than that, because that just speeds up his bat.
So now the Mets with a 3-run lead, and Michael Conforto with a chance to blow the doors off this game. Bases loaded, 1 out. Conforto drove in a run with a double his last time up. And he takes a slider for a strike. Cespedes now at third, Duda at second, and Walker at first. Ball and a strike. So the Phillies, who got 3 outs out of their bullpen in the 6th inning, now back to the bullpen woes that plagued them through their first series in Cincinnati, with Russell giving up 4 straight base runners here in the 7th. Conforto gets tied up, but it missed inside, and he stopped it in time. 2-1.
That might have been a strike. You got a fortunate call there. This is the second time now we've seen Conforto bat against a left-handed pitcher. Danny Duffy in Kansas City, and now James Russell. Last year at this time, Lagares probably would have hit here with the Mets having a lead and for a defensive change that would come.
Pulled toward the hole, past the diving Howard, base hit. Cespedes is in. Here comes Duda to the plate. The throw goes toward third. It's a 2-run single for Michael Conforto, and the Mets have expanded their lead to 6-1. A 3 RBI afternoon for Conforto.
Breaking ball. Let go with one hand. Beautiful. Got a little out in front. Just out of the reach of Howard. Well, due to the ball on the ground, is going to go all the way. Lucas, once he gets rolling, he's not a truck horse. Nice hitting.
Mets have 3 runs home in the 7th. Pitching change coming for the Phillies. We'll be right back. David Hernandez will be the 5th Philadelphia pitcher of the day.
Came up as a starting pitcher of the Baltimore Orioles years ago. We've seen him recently in Arizona. Hard thrower.
As Dribble Cabrera up. 3 runs home here in the 7th, and Cabrera has to jump back from the fastball. 5 straight Mets have reached base. A 1-out walk to right. Cespedes a base hit to left. Duda walked to fill the bases. Walker singled in 1 and Conforto singled in 2. Still only 1 out.
5 and 6 hole have been very productive for the Mets. 5 of the 6 runs have been driven in there. 2 by Walker, 3 by Conforto.
In fact, of the 11 runs the Mets have scored this year, 10 of them have been driven in by the 4, 5, and 6 hitters. Duda, Walker, and Conforto.
I thought the 2 hole had all the RBIs.
It's a small sample size, Keith.
Cabrera had a good swing there. He's got some power.
Struble 1 for 3 on the day. And he gets jammed and pops it into shallow center. Who's going to get it? Over the shoulder. Galvis, nice play for the 2nd out.
Made it look easy.
You saw that Herrera wasn't going to get there.
Very nice. 2 hands. There you go. It's a man after my heart.
Travis d'Arnaud, the 8th man up in the inning. Travis hit the ball hard his last time up, lined out to the 2nd baseman. 2 out and 2 on. Today's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Jared Eichhoff not bad for the first 4 innings, but in the 6th things went rocky for him. He couldn't retire a batter. Jacob deGrom terrific before he left with a tight right lat muscle. 2-0 now to d'Arnaud. Eric Campbell's come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if d'Arnaud keeps the inning going, with the pitcher due up next. Addison Reed is still up in the Mets bullpen, but so is Hansel Robles. With this now a 6-1 game.
I got to think you're going to want to get Robles in for an inning, and I would think maybe Bastardo too. Yeah. Get them in if this is 6-1 going all the way through.
Well, you could pitch Bastardo in the 9th if you have a 5-run lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Familiar ready if you need it.
And everybody's out there, and they've gotten baptized in the new season.
Yes, everybody but Logan Verrett.
Yes, that's right.
Have pitched at that point. Two on, 2 out, 2-2 to d'Arnaud.
This is where it should be a timer too. The catcher. They missed that one. I'm not surprised. These guys don't miss a trick.
Well, you know, they have a rule in Japan that a catcher can only go to the mound 3 times in a game. And if you put that in here, I think Yadier Molina's head would explode.
Yeah.
d'Arnaud lays off the breaking ball, and it's 3-2. You see Addison Reed on the right, Hansel Robles on the left. Ricky Bonas between them.
2 hard throwers.
Walker and Conforto get set to take off with 3-2 and 2 down. And d'Arnaud slugs one in left center for a base hit. That'll bring in Walker with the 4th run of the inning. Conforto goes to 3rd. Travis d'Arnaud chips in a 2-out RBI single, and it's 7-1 New York.
Very nice, Travis. Hitting those line drives. Shorten that stroke up a little bit. More compact. There you go. No loop in the swing. Right to it, right down the pipe, too. But you still got to hit it.
Best part of that RBI is they played the Ramones after he drove that run in. Doesn't get better than that.
Queens legends. Don't they have an exhibit at the Queens Museum honoring the Ramones?
I think they do.
I believe they do. First at bat of the season for Eric Campbell, who's appeared as a pinch runner but has not come to the plate. That's 4 runs home in this 7th inning. Campbell, the 9th man to bat. Curtis Granderson, who grounded out to start the inning, is now on deck. So if you're Matt Klentak and Pete Mackanin and your bullpen every day is giving up multiple runs, how quickly do you seek to make changes?
We saw it last year with some ball clubs when they struggled, or even when a relief pitcher, Gary, had a good outing but went 2 1/3, they would shuttle him out and get a new person in, a new live arm. So I just don't know how deep they are.
Well, they've got some veteran arms in the minors, like Luis Garcia, who we saw last year. So they've got some options. Breaking ball, strike 3 called. Campbell is out, and so are the Mets, but not before they put a 4th spot on the board against the Philadelphia bullpen. We go to the 8th, 7-1 New York.
Keith, let's take a look at the Verizon trivia question and then the answer. When was the last time the Phillies and Mets both finished the season above 500?
And 2008. There you go.
There we go.
So Gary was correct on that call.
Anything Mets trivia wise, you just send it left.
Where'd Gary go? Oh, there you are.
Well, Hansel Robles, who missed the first 2 games, suspended. You see his season last year. Boy, he had a good year. 57 games, 4-3 record. But more importantly, he could throw every day and pitch multiple innings.
Is it coincidence that he's brought in the game when Cameron Rupp made the last out of the last inning?
Yes.
It was Rupp whom he hit, resulting in that 2-game suspension. Emmanuel Burris, first man to face him in the 8th, and he takes a strike.
With a 7-1 lead, it would behoove Mr. Robles to not quick pitch anyone while they're not looking. That's what my piece of advice.
What about the quick pitch if they are looking? I mean, there was a lot of talk after Game 1 of the World Series last year when Jerry's Familia gave up the home run to Alex Gordon that tied the game, that somehow he should not have used a quick pitch.
Yeah.
something that he did effectively all year, as did Robles.
I'm not against them quick pitching. I think it's an effective tool to use every once in a while. The big thing about quick pitching, though, is you've got to be able to throw both your fastball and breaking pitch off that quick pitch. You can't be just every time you quick pitch, it's always a fastball.
Peter Borges hitting 9th in the order, out on deck. Well, despite the issues that Robles had with the Phillies last year, he showed last season he can be a very important piece of this bullpen.
He develops a little bit of a slider that he can throw for a strike behind in the count or put away slider when he's ahead. I mean, what'd you say? The world is his oyster about Conforto? Robles could really.
Okay, Ronnie, stop being cliche.
And he blows away Emmanuel Burris for the first out. There's another oyster waiting.
Well, we know that Robles throws hard, and what I like about Robles, Ronnie, is that he's not afraid. He's going to take his lumps. He gives up the long ball, but he's going to go after hitters, and you like that.
Now Peter Borges, who came in a double switch.
That slider right there is the pitch I'm talking about. Little tiny one that he can control. Could take him to the next level.
And there it is again. Borges spent the last 2 years with the Cardinals. He was supposed to be the key player in that deal from Anaheim to St. Louis. Turned out to be a different guy, Randall Grichuk, who came in that same deal for St. Louis.
Borges has been a player, and I think he had surgery this offseason to repair something that had been ailing him. But he's a guy that when he first came up to the big leagues with the Angels, you thought he was going to be a star. In fact, he pushed Mike Trout out of that center field position to start the season one year.
Yep. Well, he can fly, and he's a terrific outfielder. Never been able to hit enough to keep a regular job. Lifetime .240 hitter in the majors. That deal with Anaheim, that was the deal that dealt away the World Series hero David Freese. Yeah. So there was a lot of pressure on Borges to replace you know, the hometown kid, popular guy, won the World Series, the whole thing. But you know, the Cardinals are going to get a great benefit of that trade because Grichuk looks like he's going to be special.
Grichuk and Piscotty, although the Cardinals 0-3 to start.
Well, they played a tough Pirate team in Pittsburgh.
And Juan Nicasio all of a sudden is the next great reclamation project for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Well, Nicasio, when he first came up with the Rockies, looked like he was going to be a star, and then he got hit in the head and you know, really short-circuited his career. But Ray Searage has had a knack for taking pitchers who are on the downside of their careers and turning them around.
Ray's done a terrific job there.
It's not only that Nicasio got hit in the head. I mean, he was in ICU all night long, and they almost lost him.
3-2 from Robles. Bounce toward right. Makes the long throw off the bag. Duda misses the tag. And Borges is safe. And Borges still gets down the line well, and David sailed that throw. That'll be an error charge to right.
A double tap on the glove. Extra step for the runner. And there's your difference in Lucas making the tag or not.
It's a good call by Chris Conroy, the first base umpire. That's not an easy call.
Well, Chris should be well practiced. We saw him in every game this spring. Here's Freddie Galvis with 1 out and 1 on. Galvis 0 for 3 as Dribble Cabrera made a nice play going up the middle to rob him of a base hit his last time up. the Phillies lose today, they would fall to 0-4. They have not started the season with a longer losing streak than 4 games in 81 years.
Wow. That's going back to some pretty bad Philly teams, too.
That's lined to left center. A base hit for Galvis. Chasing it is Conforto. Borges goes first to third. And the Phillies have something going here in the 8th. First and third and 1 out.
Nicely cut off by Conforto in the gap and throwing to the right base. Nice hitting right there in a high fastball. Well done by Conforto to get there.
On opening night in Kansas City, Bartolo Colon came in for Matt Harvey out of the bullpen, gave up a hit to the first man he faced, and that was the only hit the Met bullpen had allowed until that hit by Galvis. Now Cesar Hernandez takes a fastball for a strike.
Well, one of the things you saw up the middle in spring training this year, the Mets did a better job of, I thought, turning the double play. They turned 3, I believe, in the first game against Kansas City. They could use one now.
Well, double plays will certainly be scrutinized more than ever this year. With the infielders needing to be on the bag and the runners needing to slide directly at the bag.
That's laced into center field. A base hit for Hernandez. Borges comes in to score, so an error and a couple of hits combining to produce a Philadelphia run. It's now 7-2 New York. Second hit of the day for Hernandez, his first RBI of the season.
Another fat pitch from Robles. Too much plate.
So Robles will exit, and Jerry Blevins will come on to face the lefty. We'll be right back. Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Jerry Blevins has never allowed a base runner as a New York Met. He'll come in to face Odubel Herrera with 2 on and 1 out. A run home for the Phillies here in the 8th.
Did you knock on wood for Jerry's sake?
I am only reporting, passing along the reality of his Mets career. 18 up, 18 down.
Pitch a clean inning in the first game against Kansas City.
Herrera drove in the first Philadelphia run with an opposite field single in the 6th against Jacob deGrom. That was all Jake allowed. 1 run, 5 hits over 6 innings in his season debut. And Herrera takes the slider off the plate. Blevins wanted that call and didn't get it from Paul Nart.
Largest crowd in Citi Field history today, 44,099, largest in the regular season anyway.
I think a lot of people are inside somewhere, staying warm.
If you got a club you can go to, today's the day. 2-0 from Blevins, and that's off the corner, and now it's 3-0. Maybe I should have knocked some well.
Ryan Howard is due up next. Darren Ruff has come out on deck to bat for Howard, which is something Pete Mackanin has already done this year, bring in Ruff for Howard against the lefty. It's Addison Reed ready in the bullpen. Blevins now behind on Herrera, 3-0. And there's a strike. Fans not happy with Paul Nart.
I like it though. They're into the game. Come on. Got your hat on backwards. Come on. Look like a ball player.
Begging for strikes. You never did that.
No. Oh, I did.
Yalvis at second. Hernandez at first with 1 out. And that's a strike. Herrera didn't think so. So now that evens matters a little bit on the scale of people not happy with calls.
Now, Keith, I don't know if it's the same now, but there was a time that if you did that, you better be swinging on the 3-2 pitch.
You were young and not established. There's Larry and Cannon. You wouldn't want to do that. Not to Frank Pulley or more than a few of them. Paul Runge.
So Blevins and Herrera have each had reason to be unhappy. Now they've worked it to 3-2. That Mets blanket coming in very handy today.
Good move.
By the way, if you're coming tomorrow, bring 2. From Blevins, and Herrera fouls off another. In Detroit this afternoon, Jordan Zimmermann threw 7 scoreless for the Tigers as they beat the Yankees. Jordan Zimmermann not in a Nationals uniform, very hard to look at.
They got those good uniforms though in Detroit. They have the extra belt loop. I don't know if you've ever noticed that with their uniforms. So that makes that belt stick out. Looks nice. They have the extra belt loop in the back.
I've never
so it really makes the belt stand out.
I pay attention to uniforms. Never a belt loop.
Is that new this year? 8th pitch of the at bat to Herrera, and he popped it up. David Wright coming in to call. Infield fly rule invoked. Batter's out, and he remains out. And now the runner off first base is trapped. A player who didn't know the infield fly rule, and it'll be a double play if the Mets can execute the rundown.
Oh, no.
And the tag is made to end the inning. Cesar Hernandez showing no knowledge of the infield fly rule. Batter was automatically out. No reason for him to go anywhere. And he got trapped in the Mets turn a double play.
And David did not drop this on purpose. Oh, that's embarrassing.
7-2 Mets in the 8th.
He needs to raise that turtleneck over his complete face. Covered up. Hide.
runners at first and second or bases loaded and less than 2 out. If there's a pop-up hit that's a routine play for an infielder, the umpire signals the infield fly roll, and the batter's automatically out, and the runners, if the ball falls, advance at their own peril. Cesar Hernandez, the runner at first, clearly did not know the rules.
So Cesar Hernandez, who's played this game probably since he was a little kid, never had this happen before, or no one tell him about an infield fly rule. And this is in the major leagues. That's hard to believe.
And they spent the entire half inning in conversation here, and I don't know if this was trying to explain the infield fly rule or this is something else. But
jeez, David, how about that? That wind is treacherous. He didn't drop that pop up or miss that pop up on purpose.
Peter Borges moves from right field to center. Tyler Goodell comes in to play right field, and Hector Neris is the 6th pitcher of the afternoon for the Phillies.
You see 32 games for Neris last year for the Phillies. Strikeout per inning. Good sinking fastball. Kind of a slurve, not slider.
Curtis Granderson up for the 5th time and quickly ahead on the count 2-0.
He's an old sinker baller, isn't he?
To see a lot of these guys in the day, didn't you, Keith? You don't see as many now coming out of the bullpen. More hard throwers.
Here's a strike. 2-1.
Well, that's a nice 2/3 inning work for Blevins. Very fortunate.
Well, after falling behind Herrera 3-0, his record is still unblemished
without the wood knock.
Exactly. That's what's he got? 20 outs now without surrendering a base runner as a Met. Can only hope that his season goes a little longer this year than it did last year. As your Jeep Mets box score, 2 more RBIs for Neil Walker, 3 for Michael Conforto. Mets went ahead early. Phillies tied it in the 6th. Mets went right back in front with 2 in the 6th and then 4 in the 7th. Granderson pops one up. Galvi's retreating. Borges coming in, and Borges takes care of it for the first out. Check out the conversation as Matt Cerrone talks one-on-one with Ronnie about his new book, which details his experience starting in Game 7 of the 1986 World Series on the latest Mets blog Q&A cast presented by Citi, part of the SNY.TV blog network. I know you're in full book tour mode when I tune in my radio and I hear you talking to Leonard Lopate.
I apologize. No, not to Leonard. Yeah, that was great. You know, I'd never met Leonard, and he looked exactly like I thought he would, like a college professor.
Leonard's been doing that early afternoon show on WNYC for I don't know how many years. But he often talks to folks who write books about obscure things. It was nice to hear him talk to somebody in the mainstream like yourself.
This young man's got some good stuff. I like his sinking fastball, and he still throws hard enough.
It's the second time today that David's had to move out of the way of an inside pitch.
Well, we're getting a taste of why this Philly bullpen has an ERA, which they've increased. They came in almost at 13. I wouldn't doubt if they're at 15 or 16 now. 4 earned runs out of this Philly bullpen in 2 innings of work. 2 1/3.
Well, it looks like Antonio Bastardo was going to get the 9th inning.
Against his former teammates.
Started out his career with the Phillies, pitched very well last year in Pittsburgh. And the Mets hope to get him on the beam after a rough spring training.
I shouldn't say his former teammates. Probably Ryan Howard is his only teammate.
Carlos Ruiz.
There you go.
Yeah. 3-2 to right. Did you hear what Pete Mackanin said when he posted his opening day lineup? He had Howard and Ruiz both in the lineup, and he said, well, they're both in there for sentimental reasons.
Oh,
that was an odd thing to say. Strike 3 call. Right called looking on the fastball. 2 down in the home 8th. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night. Doug Williams will be in the chair. DeBrickashaw Ferguson announces his retirement
Wow.
How about that?
That's the one theme you've seen with the footballers this winter is that they have, I don't know, maybe they saw Will Smith's concussion movie. They all are getting out of Dodge.
You have to think that has an impact.
Right? If they can.
Well, you know, it's something we talked about with the commissioner when we had him on Tuesday. Football's loss could very well be baseball's gain in terms of getting some of these young athletes who might, or whose parents might, be reluctant to send them off on a career in football and maybe point them instead toward baseball.
They are getting too big and fast for whatever reason, and the body can't take that kind of punishment. Guys of that size and speed.
But 2 words for you future athletes as far as choosing football or baseball: guaranteed contract.
Yeah, there's that too. Cespedes 1 for 4 on the day. And Neris, who went 3-1 on each of his first 2 hitters, goes 3-0 on Cespedes. And there's a strike. Big swing by Cespedes, and he pops one up. Hernandez stays with it, and that retires the side. So Neris, working behind the hitters, able to fashion a 1-2-3 inning. On to the 9th, 7-2 Mets. For Mets baseball, brought to you by Sideline. We go to the 9th inning. Mets trying to capture their home opener. Oh, look at that pair.
Don't you love it? Like, if you're older folks like us, you got to be wrapped up because you get cold. And little kids, you can just throw a little jacket on them, a hat, and they're fine.
Oh, they never stop moving.
Dad's got them on both knees, getting going. That's Bastardo's numbers with Pittsburgh last year. Outstanding. Only number you don't really love is that 26 bases on balls and 57 in the third innings. That's too many.
It's been ever thus for Bastardo, though. Darren Ruff batting for Ryan Howard, leading off in the 9th inning. And Ruff takes a strike. Andres Blanco on deck. And then Tyler Goodell for the Phillies in the 9th. Phillies 2 runs, 7 hits, 1 error. The Mets 7 runs, 9 hits, and 1 error. And it's landed into center field for a base hit for Darren Ruff. So there's the Phillies' 8th hit of the day, a pinch hit single. Now Andres Blanco, 1 for 3 on the day. Antonio Bastardo spent 6 years with the Phillies, beginning back in 2009. Last year in Pittsburgh had arguably his best season. And the Mets signed him to a 2-year deal in the offseason to try and shore up their bullpen. When you watched Bastardo this spring, Ronnie, what did you see?
Well, one of the things I see from Bastardo now, when he came up with the Phillies, he was probably one of the hardest throwing lefties I've seen for a guy that's diminutive, like kind of short in stature. To me, he still tries to pitch like he throws 95, but he throws more like 89, 90. And I think that's the issue. He's going to have to try to trick him a little more.
He's always had a flat slider. The breaking ball stays on the same plane, and he's always been straight. So you can get away with that when you're throwing 95, but when you start getting down to 91 and 90, and in spring training he was throwing in the high 80s, and you're straight, it's going to be tough to get outs.
Now last year in Pittsburgh, his average fastball velocity was 92.8. So could it just have been a matter of him holding back in spring?
You know, well, one, we can't hold it against him because almost every pitcher of the Mets was throwing a little less than their average in spring training this year.
I mean, you saw the quote from Jerry's Familia after he pitched Tuesday. He said, I can throw hard anytime I want.
That's nice to have.
Right? I'm not sure everybody has that same facility. I mean, Familia's a great case in point, right? He was not throwing his full velocity, wasn't getting synced. He comes out his first outing of the year and he looks bullets.
Well, you know, Keith and I were talking about it, though. I don't really care about the how fast Familia is throwing, the velocity. I need to see the sink, though. That, to me, is what separates him from other pitchers.
And he didn't have his sinker in spring. That's why he got roughed up in spring.
Blanco goes down on strikes, and Bastardo has his first out.
Right down the middle. So many guys drop that back shoulder. They can't hit a ball above their waist. It meant their life.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Tyler Goodell, the younger brother of Eric Goodell, who pitched for the Mets last year and almost certainly will be here at some point this season. Goodell, for the moment, is part of a left field platoon for the Phillies. He'll start against the lefties.
Well, if anyone understands the brothers, big league professional players, would be Travis d'Arnaud, who's behind the plate.
By the way, he looks just like Eric, too.
Same body.
They're about 4 years apart. How does that work, though? One brother becomes a pitcher, the other becomes a position player.
Well, I mean, it's just their talent makeup, and a lot of times for kids, I don't know, you pick a position. Some kids don't want to pitch.
Like you.
I did, yeah, but I didn't have the talent to be an everyday player. Wanted to.
Pitching found you.
I know. It's a shame. I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm on my way. I'm going to play every day, just like Keith Hernandez or wherever.
Yeah, right. Just like Carl Yastrzemski.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be
Rico Petrocelli.
Rico Petrocelli, that's the guy.
I was more like Rico Vermicelli.
There's a 94-mile-an-hour fastball from Bastardo. And he anytime he wants to. By the way, Jerry's Familia is up in the bullpen just in case, with 1 out in the 9th and a 5-run lead. 2-2 to Goodell.
Struck him out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Bastardo. 2 men down.
Now where's this pitch, Keith?
Outside corner, belt high. Swung right through it.
So the Phillies are down to their final out of the afternoon. And here's Cameron Rupp trying to avoid the dreaded golden sombrero. Up 3 times, struck out 3 times.
That was a sneaky one. I never even saw that coming.
Nothing gets by Gary. You know that.
That's right.
Especially the golden sombrero. Rough runs, Mets ignore him. Defensive indifference. Jacob deGrom with the first 6. Left after just 76 pitches because of a right lat that tightened up on him. Henderson, Robles, Blevins, and now Bastardo trying to finish it up for him. And Rupp fouls it back, and now the Phillies are down to their final strike.
Well, he's down to his final strike to get the big time sombrero.
Sellout crowd of over 44,000 has thinned out a bit, but ready to celebrate a home opener victory. And sails to the backstop, and over to third goes Ruff. A very wild pitch.
Just a little bit too high. What was the Yukon line? Just a bit outside, right?
Harry Doyle. And his color man. 2-2 to Rupp. Bouncing ball. Cabrera's in front of it. And the ball game is over. Antonio Bastardo puts on the finishing touches in a Mets home opening victory. 6 innings out of Jacob deGrom, 2 more RBIs for Neil Walker. Michael Conforto drove in 3, and the Mets with a routine 7-2 win over the Phillies in their